Dear God, there's a child in that trash bin. Oh my God, she's barely breathing. The words tore out of Elena Vasquez before she could stop them. It was pouring rain, a freezing storm that turned the Chicago night into a gray blur. Elena had just lifted the heavy metal lid of the dumpster behind the kitchen when she saw her. There she was, Isabel Corsetti, 6 months old but small for her age, curled up among garbage bags and rotting food, wrapped only in a thin, dirty blanket. For a moment, Elena's soul felt as though it had dropped straight through the soles of her worn sneakers. No, 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 she whispered, reaching into the filth without a second thought. Baby, don't you give up. Not out here. Not like this. The child was ice cold, her skin turning blue. Elena pulled her out, hugging the tiny, shivering body against her chest to share her warmth, shielding her from the rain with her own red cardigan. I have to get you inside, Elena gasped, turning to run back to the house. Help. Someone help. I found her. But before she could reach the back door, a scream cut through the storm. What are you doing? Rachel Dawson, the nanny, stood under the patio lights, her face twisted in a mask of horror. Oh my God, you were throwing her away. Help. Guards. She's kidnapping the child. Elena's blood turned to ice. What? No, I found her in the bin. I just pulled her out. Liar. Rachel shrieked. I saw you. You put her in the trash because she wouldn't stop crying. Within seconds, four security guards surrounded Elena. The younger one ripped Isabel from her arms. Don't move. Please listen to me, Elena begged, raising her trembling, dirt-stained hands. She was freezing. I found her in the dumpster. She needs a doctor. Look at her skin. Shut up. A guard pushed her backward. Elena staggered, falling into the mud, tasting blood from where she bit her own lip. But nothing prepared her for the presence that emerged from the mansion. Dominic Corsetti stepped into the rain like a force of nature. Tall, broad, dressed in a dark blue shirt, his eyes scanning the scene with a rage so cold it stopped her heart. Call TO action. If you're already feeling the tension and want to know what happens next, please subscribe and drop a comment below. Would you have stayed calm in Elena's situation, or would fear have taken over? Let me know your thoughts. Elena Vasquez had been working at the Corsetti mansion for exactly 11 months. She knew every corner of the sprawling Chicago estate, every marble tile, every crystal chandelier. She cleaned them all. At 26 years old, Elena was the kind of woman who moved through life quietly, never asking for much, always giving everything. Her parents had immigrated from Mexico when she was 7, working double shifts so she could go to school. Now she sent half her paycheck home to help with her younger brother's college tuition. Tonight was supposed to be simple. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Chin, had asked her to take out the kitchen trash before the storm got worse. It was already past 10 in the evening and most of the staff had gone home. Elena pulled on her red cardigan over her gray uniform dress and stepped out into the rain. The wind hit her immediately, cold and sharp. She hurried across the stone pathway to the dumpster area behind the kitchen wing. The mansion loomed above her, every window glowing warm and golden. She wondered, not for the first time, what it must be like to live in such a place. To never worry about bills. To sleep in a bed that cost more than her entire year's salary. She grabbed the handle of the heavy dumpster lid and pulled it open. The smell hit her first. Rotten vegetables, spoiled milk, the usual kitchen waste. But then she heard it. A tiny weak sound. Almost like a kitten mewing. Elena froze. She leaned closer, squinting into the darkness of the bin. The rain poured harder, soaking through her cardigan, plastering her dark curly hair to her face. And then she saw the blanket. Dirty, wet, bundled up between two black garbage bags. The blanket moved. Dear God, there's a child in that trash bin. Oh my God, she's barely breathing. Elena didn't think. She just acted. She climbed onto the edge of the dumpster, reaching down into the filth. Her hands closed around the small bundle, and she lifted it out as carefully as she could. The blanket fell away slightly, and Elena's heart shattered. Baby. A tiny baby girl with pale skin turning blue from the cold. Her little lips were purple. Her chest barely moved. No, 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 Elena whispered, pulling the child against her chest. She could feel how cold the baby was, like holding a block of ice. Baby, don't you give up. Not out here. Not like this. She stripped off her red cardigan and wrapped it around the child, holding her close to share body heat. The baby's eyes fluttered but didn't open. Elena's mind raced. She had taken a CPR class once years ago. She checked the baby's breathing. Shallow but present. Pulse weak but there. I have to get you inside, Elena gasped. She turned and ran toward the back door, her shoes slipping on the wet stone. Help. Someone help. I found her. The back door flew open. Rachel Dawson stood there, the nanny, her blonde hair perfect, her cream-colored blouse spotless. For a split second, something flickered across Rachel's face. Something like panic. Like fear. Then Rachel's expression changed completely. Her eyes went wide, her mouth opened, and she screamed. "What are you doing?" Rachel's voice was shrill, cutting through the storm. "Oh my God, you were throwing her away. Help. Guards. She's kidnapping the child." Elena felt the world tilt. "What? No, I found her in the bin. I just pulled her out." "Liar." Rachel shrieked, pointing at Elena with a shaking hand. "I saw you. You put her in the trash because she wouldn't stop crying. I saw you." Before Elena could respond, security guards came running from different directions. They surrounded her, their faces hard and suspicious. One of them, a younger man with red hair, grabbed Elena's arm roughly. Another reached for the baby. "No, please, she needs medical attention," Elena tried to explain, but the guard yanked the child from her arms. Elena's heart broke as the baby was pulled away from the warmth of her body. "Don't move," the red-haired guard ordered. He was looking at her like she was a monster. They all were. "Please listen to me," Elena begged, raising her trembling, dirt-stained hands. She was freezing. "I found her in the dumpster. She needs a doctor. Look at her skin." "Shut up." The guard pushed her backward. Elena's foot slipped on the wet ground and she fell hard into the mud. Pain shot through her hip and elbow. She tasted blood where she bit her own lip. The rain poured down on her as she lay there, looking up at the guards, at Rachel's triumphant face, at the tiny baby being carried away. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. Then the energy in the air changed. Everyone went still. Even the rain seemed to fall more quietly. Dominic Corsetti stepped out of the mansion. Elena had only seen her employer a handful of times in 11 months. He was a ghost in his own house, always traveling, always working. When he was home, he stayed in his private wing. The staff whispered about him. 34 years old. Widowed when his wife died giving birth. Worth billions. Cold as winter. Now, seeing him up close for the first time, Elena understood the fear in people's voices. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with broad shoulders and the kind of presence that made everyone around him seem smaller. His dark hair was wet from the rain, pushed back from a face that could have been carved from stone. He wore a navy blue shirt, unbuttoned at the collar, and dark pants. But it was his eyes that stopped her heart. They were dark, almost black in the dim light, and they were filled with a rage so cold it felt like drowning. He looked at the baby in the guard's arms. His jaw clenched. Then his eyes moved to Elena lying in the mud, and something in his expression grew even harder. "What happened?" His voice was quiet, but it cut through the storm like a blade. Rachel stepped forward immediately. "Mr. Corsetti, thank God you're here. I came outside because I heard little Isabel crying and I found her." Rachel pointed at Elena, her voice breaking dramatically. "I found her putting Isabel in the dumpster. I saw it with my own eyes." Elena's blood froze. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. "No, that's not true. I found her already in there. I pulled her out. I was trying to save her." "She's lying," Rachel said quickly. "I saw her. She was angry because Isabel wouldn't stop crying during her shift. She said she was tired of the noise. I saw her carry Isabel outside." "That's not true," Elena's voice cracked. "I would never." "Please, you have to believe me." Dominic's eyes moved between them. His face revealed nothing. He walked to the guard holding Isabel and took his daughter into his arms with surprising gentleness. The baby looked so small against his chest. He examined her, his jaw tight, his eyes scanning every inch of her cold, blue-tinged skin. "Get Dr. Morrison here now," he ordered. "And call the police." Elena's world collapsed. "No, please, I'm telling the truth. Check the security cameras. Please." Dominic looked at her for a long moment. His eyes were empty of mercy. "Take her to the security office. Don't let her leave." 2 guards grabbed Elena's arms and hauled her to her feet. She was shaking, covered in mud and trash, her red cardigan ruined. As they dragged her toward the service building, she looked back at Dominic Corsetti holding his daughter. "I saved her," Elena whispered, but no one was listening anymore. The last thing she saw before they pulled her inside was Dominic looking down at Isabel, and for just a second, his stone mask cracked. Underneath was something raw and terrified. The look of a father who had almost lost everything. The security office was small and cold. They put Elena in a chair and told her not to move. She sat there, shivering in her wet clothes, her mind spinning in circles. How had this happened? How had saving a child turned into this nightmare? Through the window she could see the main house. Lights were on everywhere now. People were running around. An ambulance arrived, its lights flashing red and blue against the rain. Elena watched as paramedics rushed inside with equipment. Her heart ached for little Isabel. Was she okay? Would she survive? The door opened. A tall man in a gray security uniform entered. His name tag read Patterson. He was older, maybe 50, with gray hair and tired eyes. He sat down across from her with a tablet. Elena Vasquez, he read from the screen. 26 years old. Employed here for 11 months as a maid. No criminal record. Good performance reviews from Mrs. Chin. He looked up at her. Want to tell me your side? Elena's throat was tight, but she forced herself to speak clearly. I was taking out the trash like I was told. When I opened the dumpster, I heard a sound. I looked inside and saw a blanket moving. I reached in and found baby Isabel. She was freezing cold. Her skin was blue. I pulled her out and was running to get help when Rachel came outside and started screaming that I was trying to hurt her. But I wasn't. I swear on my life I was trying to save her. Patterson wrote notes on his tablet. His face gave nothing away. Rachel says she saw you carry the baby outside. That's a lie. I never had Isabel before I found her in the dumpster. I work in the West Wing. I don't even go near the nursery. Why would Rachel lie? Elena shook her head. I don't know. I barely know her. We've maybe spoken 5 times since she started working here 2 months ago. Patterson studied her for a long moment. The thing is, Elena, rich people's babies don't just end up in dumpsters. Someone put her there. And you're the one who was found with her. Because I found her. I pulled her out. Or because you put her in and then changed your mind. Elena wanted to scream. Instead, she took a breath and tried to stay calm. Please check the security cameras. They'll show everything. They'll show I'm telling the truth. Patterson nodded slowly. We're pulling the footage now. But the cameras in that area, they're not great. The angle is blocked by the building. We might not see everything. Elena's heart sank. There has to be something. Please. We'll see. Patterson stood up. For now you stay here. Don't try to leave. If you're innocent, the truth will come out. He left. Elena was alone again. Hours passed. Or maybe just minutes. Time felt broken. Elena sat in that chair, her clothes slowly drying, her mind replaying everything over and over. The feeling of Isabel's cold body. The sound of Rachel's scream. The look in Dominic Corsetti's eyes. She thought about her parents. They would be so ashamed if she was arrested. Her mother, who cleaned houses. Her father, who worked construction. They had sacrificed everything to give her a better life, and now this. Even if she was proven innocent, would anyone hire her again? Would she be able to help her brother finish school? The door opened again. This time it was Dominic Corsetti himself. Elena jumped to her feet immediately. He filled the doorway, still wearing the same navy blue shirt, now completely dry. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were different. Less cold. More searching. Sit down, he said quietly. Elena sat. Dominic closed the door behind him and leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. For a moment he just looked at her. Elena felt like he was seeing straight through to her soul. Isabel is alive, he said finally. She has severe hypothermia. Possible pneumonia. The doctors say another hour in that cold and she would have died. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Thank God. Rachel has given her statement. She says she saw you carry Isabel outside at 9:45. She says you told her earlier in the evening that you were tired of the babies crying. I never said that. I never even spoke to Rachel today. Dominic pushed off the wall and moved closer. He pulled out a chair and sat down across from her, so close she could see the dark circles under his eyes. I've been reviewing the security footage for the past 2 hours. The cameras in the nursery wing show Rachel putting Isabel to bed at 8:30. Then Rachel leaves the nursery at 9:15. The cameras show you in the kitchen until 9:40, when you take out the trash. Elena's heart began to pound. So the cameras prove I didn't take her from the nursery. The cameras show you didn't enter the nursery. But there's a gap. The exterior cameras near the dumpster have a blind spot. We can't see who put Isabel there. We can only see you pulling her out. But that proves I found her, not that I put her there. It proves you were the one who took her out of the dumpster. It doesn't prove anything else. Elena felt desperation rising in her chest. Why would I save her if I put her there? That makes no sense. Unless you put her there, then panicked and changed your mind. I didn't. I swear to you I didn't. Dominic studied her face. The silence stretched between them. Finally he spoke again, his voice lower. Tell me exactly what happened. Every detail. So Elena did. She told him about taking out the trash. About hearing the sound. About finding Isabel in that horrible place, cold and barely breathing. About wrapping her in her cardigan. About trying to get help and Rachel's accusations. She told him everything, her voice breaking several times, tears streaming down her face. When she finished, Dominic was quiet for a long time. You really found her, he said. It wasn't quite a question. Yes. I promise you yes. He stood up abruptly and walked to the door. Then he stopped, his hand on the handle, his back to her. If you're lying to me, I will destroy your life. Do you understand? I'm not lying. He left without another word. Elena sat there alone again, but something had shifted. He had listened. Really listened. That was more than she'd hoped for. An hour later, Patterson came back with a woman Elena didn't recognize. She was short, with dark hair pulled into a tight bun, wearing a maroon blazer. She introduced herself as Detective Sarah Chin from the Chicago Police Department. We need to ask you some more questions, Detective Chin said, sitting down with a notepad. But first, I want you to know that we've been reviewing all available footage and talking to other staff members. Elena's hands were shaking. And some things aren't adding up with Rachel Dawson's story. But we need more information from you. They talked for another hour. Detective Chin asked about Elena's relationship with Rachel, with Dominic, with the other staff. She asked about Elena's background, her family, her finances. Elena answered everything honestly, holding nothing back. Finally, Detective Chin closed her notepad. Here's where we are. The evidence is unclear. The camera footage shows you removing the baby from the dumpster, but it doesn't show who put her there. Rachel claims she saw you, but she's the only witness. No one else saw anything. So what happens to me? For now, nothing. We're not arresting you. But you can't leave the property and you'll be under observation. We need to investigate further. Elena nodded. She was exhausted. Can I ask about Isabel? Is she going to be okay? Detective Chen's expression softened slightly. The doctors are cautiously optimistic. She's a fighter. Good. That's good. After Detective Chen left, Patterson came back in. You can go to your room, but you're not to leave the staff quarters. Someone will bring you food. Do you understand? Yes. He walked her across the grounds to the staff building, where the maids and lower-level employees had small bedrooms. Elena's room was tiny, barely bigger than a closet, with a single bed, a dresser, and a small window. But it was hers, and right now she was just grateful not to be in a jail cell. She peeled off her dirty, damp clothes and stood in the shower for a long time, letting the hot water wash away the mud and trash and fear. But it couldn't wash away the image of Isabel's blue lips. Or the sound of Rachel's accusation. Or the weight of Dominic Corsetti's stare. Elena crawled into bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in this huge mansion, a baby was fighting for her life. And somewhere the person who had tried to kill her was walking free. Elena closed her eyes and prayed harder than she had ever prayed in her life. Not for herself. For Isabel. Tomorrow would bring answers. Had to. Elena barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Isabel's tiny face, blue and cold. When dawn finally came, she got dressed in a clean gray uniform dress and waited. A guard stood outside her door. She was a prisoner in everything but name. At 8 in the morning, someone knocked. It was Mrs. Chen, the head housekeeper, a stern older woman who had always been fair to Elena. Her expression was complicated. Mr. Corsetti wants to see you in his office, Mrs. Chen said. Now. Elena's stomach dropped. Is Isabel okay? She's stable. That's all I know. Mrs. Chen's voice softened just slightly. Elena, I've known you for almost a year. I don't believe you hurt that child. But be careful. Mr. Corsetti is not a forgiving man. They walked through the mansion in silence. Elena had never been to the private wing before. Everything here was more expensive, more beautiful. The hallway walls were covered in original artwork. The floor was polished marble. They stopped at a set of double doors made of dark wood. Mrs. Chen knocked and opened the door. Miss Vasquez is here, sir. Send her in. Elena stepped inside. The office was huge, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the grounds. Dominic Corsetti stood by those windows, his back to her, wearing a crisp white shirt and gray pants. The morning light made his dark hair look almost blue. Close the door, he said without turning around. Elena did. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. Dominic turned to face her. He looked exhausted. The circles under his eyes were darker. His jaw was covered in stubble. But his eyes were different than last night. They weren't cold anymore. They were burning. "I owe you an apology," he said. Elena blinked. Of all the things she'd expected, that wasn't one of them. Dominic gestured to a chair. "Sit down. Please." She sat. He remained standing, pacing slowly back and forth. "After I left you last night, I couldn't stop thinking about what you said. About finding Isabel. About trying to help her. So I went back to the security footage. All of it. Not just the obvious cameras, but every single feed in this entire property." He pulled out a tablet and tapped the screen. "This is from the nursery wing at 9:15 last night." He turned the screen toward Elena. The video showed Rachel Dawson in the hallway outside the nursery. She was looking around nervously. Then she opened the nursery door, went inside, and came out a moment later carrying a bundle. "Isabel." Rachel looked around again, then walked quickly down the hall, away from the main cameras. "There's a service stairwell," Dominic said, his voice tight with anger. "One the staff uses. It doesn't have cameras inside, but it has one at the bottom exit. Watch." He tapped the screen again. This time the video showed the back door near the kitchen. Rachel came out, still carrying Isabel. She looked around, then hurried toward the dumpster area. The angle wasn't perfect, but you could see her open the dumpster lid. You could see her lean over it. And then she walked away, her arms empty. Elena felt sick. She really did it? She tried to kill her. Yes. Dominic's voice was cold as ice. And then she waited. She watched to see if anyone would find Isabel. When you did, she saw an opportunity. She could blame you and save herself. What? Why would she do that? Dominic set down the tablet and finally sat in the chair across from Elena. "I've had people digging into Rachel's background all night. She lied on her application. She's not actually a certified nanny. She falsified her credentials. And 3 years ago, she was fired from another wealthy family for stealing jewelry and then trying to blame it on another employee." Elena's hands clenched in her lap. "So she's done this before. Hurt people and blamed others." "Yes." "The family she worked for didn't press charges. They just fired her quietly. They didn't want the scandal." Dominic's jaw clenched. "That was a mistake. If they had reported her, my daughter would never have been in danger." "Where is Rachel now?" "In police custody. She was arrested an hour ago." When Detective Chen confronted her with the video evidence, she confessed. She said. He paused, his hands gripping the arms of his chair. She said Isabel wouldn't stop crying. That she was tired. That she just wanted peace and quiet. So she decided to get rid of the problem. Elena felt tears burning in her eyes. "That poor baby. Because of you she's alive." Dominic leaned forward, his dark eyes meeting hers. "Because you heard her. Because you didn't walk away. Because you pulled her out of that trash and held her close to keep her warm. You saved my daughter's life, Elena." The way he said her name with such weight and meaning made something in her chest crack open. She had been so scared, so alone, so convinced she would be punished for doing the right thing. And now this man, this powerful, terrifying man, was looking at her like she was something precious. "I was just doing what anyone would do," she whispered. "No. Not anyone. Most people would have been too afraid, too concerned about getting dirty, too worried about getting involved. You didn't hesitate. You saved her without thinking about yourself at all." He stood up and moved to his desk, opening a drawer. "I treated you horribly. I accused you without knowing the truth. I let my fear and anger blind me. There's no excuse for that." He pulled out an envelope and held it out to her. "This is $50,000. It's not enough. Could never be enough. But it's a start." Elena stared at the envelope. $50,000. That was more money than her parents made in 2 years combined. That could pay off her brother's entire college tuition with money left over. That could change her family's life. But part of her wanted to refuse. Wanted to say she didn't do it for money. That saving a child shouldn't come with a price tag. Then she remembered the user's instructions. All offers should be accepted with gratitude. Because refusing help when it was offered with genuine intent was a kind of pride her family couldn't afford. Elena reached out and took the envelope with shaking hands. "Thank you. This means more than you know. My family. This will help my family so much. Thank you." Dominic nodded. "That's not all. I want to offer you a new position. I need someone to take care of Isabel. Someone I can trust completely. Someone who has already proven they would die before letting harm come to her. I want you to be her personal caretaker." Elena's breath caught. "But I'm not a trained nanny. I'm just a maid." "You're not just anything. You're the woman who saved my daughter's life. You're kind, brave, and good. Those are the only qualifications that matter to me. He named a salary that made Elena's head spin. 3 times what she currently made. Plus health insurance. Plus a private room in the family wing so she could be close to Isabel at night. You don't have to decide right now, Dominic said. Think about it. But Elena didn't need to think. This was a gift. A chance to truly help a child who needed love and protection. A chance to help her family. A chance at something better. I accept, she said firmly. I would be honored to take care of Isabel. For the first time since she'd met him, Dominic Corsetti smiled. It was a small smile, tired and sad around the edges, but real. Thank you, Elena. Truly. You've given me back my daughter. I won't forget that. Ever. As Elena left his office, her head spinning with everything that had changed in just 12 hours, she thought about how strange life was. Last night she had been drowning in fear and injustice. This morning she was being offered hope and a future. She thought about Isabel, fighting for her life in a hospital bed somewhere in this mansion. And she made a silent promise to that little girl. I will protect you. I will love you. I will make sure you grow up safe and happy. No matter what. 3 days later, Elena moved into her new room in the family wing. It was beautiful, with cream-colored walls, a real queen-sized bed with a blue comforter, and a private bathroom. There was even a small sitting area with a comfortable chair and a window that looked out over the gardens. After sharing a bathroom with 4 other maids and sleeping in a room barely bigger than a closet, this felt like a dream. But Elena barely noticed the luxury. All she cared about was the door at the end of the hall. The nursery. Where Isabel was recovering. The doctors had moved Isabel home from the hospital yesterday. She was getting better slowly but surely. The hypothermia was gone. The pneumonia was responding to antibiotics. But she was still weak, still small, still fragile. Elena spent her first day in the new role just watching Isabel sleep. The baby was so tiny with pale skin and wispy brown hair. She was hooked up to monitors that beeped softly, tracking her heart rate and breathing. Every time Elena looked at her, she felt a mixture of relief and rage. Relief that she was alive. Rage at Rachel for what she had done. On her second day, Isabel woke up and looked at Elena with big, curious brown eyes. Elena had been sitting in the rocking chair by the crib, reading about infant care on her phone, when she heard a small sound. She looked up and there was Isabel, staring right at her. "Hello, sweet girl," Elena whispered, standing up and moving to the crib. "I'm Elena. I'm going to take care of you from now on. Is that okay with you?" Isabel made a little cooing sound. Elena's heart melted. She reached down and gently stroked the baby's soft cheek. Isabel turned toward the touch, her little mouth opening. "Are you hungry? Let me get you a bottle." Elena had learned how to prepare formula from the nurses. She warmed a bottle to exactly the right temperature, then carefully lifted Isabel from the crib. The baby was so light, like holding a bird. Elena settled into the rocking chair and offered the bottle. Isabel latched on immediately, her eyes never leaving Elena's face. As she fed Isabel, Elena felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just a job. This was a calling. This little girl needed her. And Elena needed Isabel too, in a way she hadn't expected. After years of taking care of everyone else, of cleaning and working and sacrificing, it felt good to pour all that care into one small person who couldn't reject it or take it for granted. "You're going to be okay," Elena murmured. "I promise you. You're going to grow up strong and happy and loved. I won't let anyone hurt you ever again." The nursery door opened. Dominic stepped inside, stopping when he saw them. He was wearing a green button-down shirt and dark pants, clearly dressed for work, but he hadn't left yet. He stood there in the doorway just watching Elena feed his daughter. "She's eating well," Elena said softly, not wanting to disturb Isabel. "She likes you." Dominic moved closer, his footsteps quiet on the plush carpet. "She wouldn't eat for the nurses at first. They said she was upset, confused. But you've calmed her down. Babies can sense when someone cares about them. She knows she's safe now." Dominic pulled up another chair and sat down next to the rocking chair. Up close, Elena could see the toll the last few days had taken on him. His eyes were bloodshot. His jaw was tight. His hands kept clenching and unclenching on his knees. "I can't stop thinking about it," he said quietly. "About what almost happened. If you hadn't been there, if you hadn't heard her, if you hadn't cared." His voice broke. "She would be dead. My daughter would be dead, and I would have never known the truth." Elena shifted Isabel to her other arm, gently patting her back to burp her. "But that didn't happen. She's here. She's safe. Because of you." Dominic looked at her, really looked at her, and Elena saw something in his eyes she hadn't expected. Guilt. Deep, painful guilt. I accused you. I let them hurt you. I was ready to send you to prison for saving her life. How do you not hate me? Elena thought about that for a moment. The truth was she had been angry at first. Terrified and angry and hurt. But sitting here now, holding Isabel, seeing the devastation on Dominic's face, she couldn't hold on to that anger. You were scared, she said simply. You thought your daughter was in danger and you reacted. I understand that. Any parent would have done the same. No. I should have listened. I should have looked at the evidence before judging. I should have. He stopped, his jaw working. I failed her. I failed Isabel by hiring someone without properly checking their background. I failed her by not being present in her life, by always working, always traveling. And I failed you by not seeing the truth. You can't change the past, Elena said gently. But you can change the future. You can be here now. You can be the father Isabel needs. Dominic looked at his daughter, now falling asleep in Elena's arms, her little face peaceful and content. I don't know how. I never had a good father myself. My dad was like me, always working, never around. I don't know how to be different. You learn. One day at a time. Elena stood carefully and placed Isabel back in her crib, covering her with a soft pink blanket. Start by being present. Hold her. Talk to her. Let her know you're here. Dominic stood too, moving to the crib. He looked down at Isabel with an expression of such longing and fear that it broke Elena's heart. What if I'm not enough? What if I mess this up? You won't. Not if you try. And you have help now. You have me. He turned to look at her and something passed between them. An understanding. A connection. They were both trying to protect this little girl. They were on the same side now. Thank you, Elena. For everything. He reached out and gently touched her arm, just for a second. The gesture was brief but meaningful. I mean it. Thank you. After he left, Elena stood by the crib for a long time, watching Isabel sleep. She thought about Dominic's guilt, his fear, his desperation to be better. She had expected him to be cold and distant, the way rich people were supposed to be. But he wasn't. He was just a man who had almost lost his daughter and didn't know how to process that pain. She found herself wanting to help him, not just because it was her job, but because she could see he was suffering. And despite everything, despite the accusations and the fear, Elena's nature was to help people who were hurting. Over the next few weeks, a routine developed. Elena took care of Isabel during the day, feeding her, bathing her, playing with her. Isabel grew stronger every day, her cheeks filling out, her eyes growing brighter. She started smiling, real baby smiles that lit up her whole face. She started making happy sounds, little laughs and coos that filled the nursery with joy. And every evening, Dominic came to the nursery. At first he just watched from the doorway. Then he started sitting in the chair, asking questions. How much did she eat? How long did she sleep? Was she happy? Elena answered patiently, encouraging him to interact with Isabel. Do you want to hold her? She would ask. And slowly, carefully, Dominic started holding his daughter. At first he was stiff and awkward, holding her like she might break. But Elena showed him how to support her head, how to rock her gently, how to smile at her so she would smile back. The first time Isabel smiled at her father, Dominic's entire face transformed. The hard, cold mask he usually wore cracked open, revealing something soft and vulnerable underneath. He looked at Elena with wonder in his eyes. She smiled at me, he said, his voice full of awe. She knows you're her daddy. She loves you. From that day forward, Dominic was different. He started spending more time at home. He moved his office to the mansion so he could work from there instead of traveling. He started joining Elena and Isabel for their daily activities, learning how to change diapers and warm bottles and sing silly songs. Elena watched this transformation with quiet amazement. The cold, distant billionaire was becoming a real father. And somehow, in the middle of all this, she was becoming a part of their little family too. One evening, after they had put Isabel to bed together, Dominic turned to Elena in the hallway. Can we talk? Just for a few minutes? They went to the sitting room adjacent to the nursery, a cozy space with 2 sofas and a fireplace. Dominic gestured for Elena to sit, then sat across from her. I wanted to thank you again, he began. Not just for saving Isabel, but for everything you've done since. You've taught me how to be a father. You've been patient with me. You've treated me with kindness even when I didn't deserve it. You're doing great, Elena said honestly. Isabel is lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have both of you. He paused, seeming to wrestle with something. Elena, I need you to know that I see you. Not as an employee but as a person. A good person who has changed our lives. And I want you to feel comfortable here. This is your home now, not just a job. If you need anything at all, you tell me. Understand? Elena felt warmth spread through her chest. I understand. Thank you, Dominic. It was the first time she had used his first name. He noticed, and a small smile crossed his face. You can always call me Dominic. We're family now. You, me, and Isabel. Family. The word hung in the air between them, full of meaning and promise. Elena had come here as a maid, invisible and unimportant. Now she was part of something bigger. Something that felt like coming home. Winter turned into spring. Isabel grew from a fragile infant into a strong, happy baby. At 9 months old, she was crawling everywhere, getting into everything, babbling constantly. Her favorite word was Lena, her attempt at saying Elena's name. Every time she said it, Elena's heart swelled with love. The mansion felt different now. Warmer. More alive. Where it had once been silent and empty, now it was filled with Isabel's laughter, with music from the nursery, with the sounds of life being lived. Elena had transformed the place without even trying. She brought flowers into the rooms. She opened the curtains to let in sunlight. She convinced Dominic to let her organize a small playroom for Isabel with bright red and blue toys and soft mats for the baby to crawl on. Dominic had changed too. He smiled now. Real smiles that reached his eyes. He laughed when Isabel did something funny, like when she tried to eat her own feet or when she knocked over her tower of blocks for the 10th time. He was present in a way Elena had never expected from a billionaire businessman. They fell into an easy rhythm, the three of them. Mornings belonged to Isabel's routine. Breakfast, playtime, a walk in the gardens if the weather was nice. Dominic would join them when he could, pushing Isabel's stroller or carrying her on his shoulders. Afternoons were for naps and quiet play. Evenings were for dinner together, which they ate in the small family dining room instead of the formal one. And nights were for bedtime stories, which Dominic insisted on reading himself. Elena found herself spending more and more time with Dominic, even when Isabel was asleep. They would sit in the living room talking about everything and nothing. He told her about his business, about the pressures of running a company worth billions. She told him about her family, about her parents' struggles, about her dreams of one day helping them retire comfortably. You're already helping them, Dominic pointed out one evening. They were sitting on the sofa, each with a cup of tea, the baby monitor between them. You send them money every month. You're paying for your brother's school. It's not enough. They still work so hard. My mother's hands hurt all the time from cleaning. My father's back is damaged from construction. They deserve rest. They will rest. I'll make sure of it. Elena looked at him in surprise. What do you mean? I mean that you're important to this family, Elena. And your family is important to you. So they're important to me too. He set down his tea and leaned forward. Let me help. Let me pay off any debts they have. Let me set them up so they can retire. It's the least I can do after everything you've done for us. Elena's first instinct was to refuse. It was too much. Too generous. But then she remembered the lesson she had learned months ago. Accepting help with gratitude was not weakness. It was wisdom. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. That would mean the world to them. To me. Then it's done. True to his word, Dominic contacted Elena's parents the next day. Within a week, their mortgage was paid off. Their medical bills were cleared. A retirement fund was established. When Elena called her mother to tell her she could stop cleaning houses, her mother cried so hard Elena cried too. How did this happen? Her mother asked in Spanish, her voice breaking. How did our daughter end up with such a blessing? I just helped someone when they needed it, Mama. That's all. That's everything, Mija. That's everything. As the weeks passed, Elena noticed something she hadn't expected. She was developing feelings for Dominic. Real feelings that went beyond gratitude or friendship. She noticed the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. The way he hummed while making breakfast. The way he looked at Isabel with such pure love. The way he looked at her sometimes, with an expression she couldn't quite read. She tried to push the feelings down. It was inappropriate. He was her employer. She was here to take care of his daughter, not to develop a crush on him. But the heart didn't listen to logic. One Saturday afternoon, Dominic suggested they take Isabel to the park. It was a beautiful spring day, warm and sunny, perfect for being outside. They packed a bag with snacks and toys and drove to a large public park near the lake. Elena pushed Isabel in the swing while Dominic watched, his hands in the pockets of his jeans. He was wearing a red t-shirt and looked younger, more relaxed than she had ever seen him. Higher, Lena. Isabel squealed, even though she couldn't actually say full words yet. Elena pushed a little higher, and Isabel laughed with pure joy. She's fearless, Dominic said, coming to stand next to Elena. Like you. I'm not fearless. I'm scared all the time. But you don't let fear stop you. That's what matters. He was standing close enough that their arms almost touched. Elena was very aware of his presence, of the warmth radiating from him. They spent hours at the park. They had a picnic on the grass, Isabel sitting between them, grabbing at sandwiches and fruit. They played with a ball, rolling it back and forth, Isabel clapping every time she touched it. They walked by the lake, Dominic carrying Isabel on his shoulders, Elena walking beside them. As the sun started to set, they sat on a bench overlooking the water. Isabel had fallen asleep in Dominic's arms, her little head resting on his shoulder. Elena sat next to them, feeling more content than she had felt in years. This was a perfect day, Dominic said quietly, careful not to wake Isabel. It was. We should do this more often. Not just stay locked in the mansion. Get out, be normal. Elena smiled. A billionaire CEO pretending to be normal? Why not? When I'm with you and Isabel, I feel normal. I feel like... He paused, searching for words. I feel like myself. The version of me I always wanted to be but never knew how. Elena's heart skipped. You are yourself. A good man. A good father. He turned to look at her, and the expression in his eyes made her breath catch. Because of you. You brought light into our lives, Elena. You made us a family. The moment stretched between them, full of unspoken words and feelings. Elena wanted to say something, to acknowledge what was growing between them, but she was too afraid. What if she was reading him wrong? What if he just saw her as a caretaker and nothing more? Before she could decide, Isabel stirred and whimpered. The moment broke. Dominic stood up, adjusting his daughter in his arms. We should get her home. On the drive back, Elena stared out the window, her mind racing. She couldn't keep pretending she didn't have feelings for Dominic. But she also couldn't risk ruining what they had. Isabel needed stability. Isabel needed both of them working together, not dealing with awkwardness or rejected feelings. So Elena made a decision. She would bury her feelings. She would focus on her job, on Isabel, on being the best caretaker she could be. That was what mattered. But as they pulled up to the mansion and Dominic smiled at her over Isabel's sleeping head, Elena knew it was going to be harder than she thought. Because she wasn't just falling for Dominic Corsetti. She was already in love with him. And she had no idea what to do about it. Call TO action. Are you rooting for Elena and Dominic? Do you think they belong together, or should Elena protect her heart? Comment below and let me know what you'd do in her situation. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in their story. Summer arrived, bringing warmth and long golden days. Isabel turned 10 months old and was now pulling herself up on furniture, trying to stand. She had 4 teeth and a personality that grew bigger every day. She was stubborn like her father, determined to do everything herself. She was also gentle, always reaching out to touch Elena's face or pat Dominic's cheek when he held her. Elena had been living in the mansion for 5 months now. It no longer felt like work. It felt like life. She woke up every morning excited to see Isabel, to watch her grow and learn. And if she was honest with herself, she was also excited to see Dominic. Their relationship had deepened over the months. They talked every day about everything. Dominic told her about his childhood, about growing up with a father who cared more about money than his son. About losing his wife during childbirth and feeling like he had failed both her and Isabel. About the loneliness that had consumed him until Elena came into their lives. Elena shared her own stories. About immigrating as a child and not speaking English at school. About working 2 jobs to help her parents. About her dreams of someday going to college but never having the money or time. About feeling invisible for most of her life, like she didn't matter to anyone. You matter, Dominic said fiercely when she told him that. They were sitting in the garden one evening after putting Isabel to bed, watching fireflies dance in the warm air. You matter more than you know. To Isabel. To your family. To me. The last words hung in the air. To me. Elena's heart raced. You matter to me too, she said softly. Dominic moved closer on the bench. Their shoulders touched. Elena didn't move away. Elena, he began then stopped. You seem to be struggling with something. Can I ask you something? Of course. Are you happy here? Truly happy? Yes. More than I ever thought I could be. Good. Because I can't imagine this place without you anymore. When I think about the future, you're always in it. You and Isabel together, laughing, playing, making every day better just by existing. He turned to look at her, and in the dim light, his eyes were soft. You've become essential to me. Elena's breath caught. Dominic. I know I'm your employer. I know there's a power imbalance. I know this is complicated. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel what I feel. What do you feel? Like I've been living in darkness for years and you're the first light I've seen. Like every day with you is a gift. Like, he took a breath. Like I'm falling in love with you and I don't want to stop. Time seemed to freeze. Elena stared at him, her mind spinning. He loved her. Dominic Corsetti, this brilliant, powerful, complicated man, loved her. Say something, he whispered. Even if it's no. Even if you don't feel the same. Just say something. I feel the same, Elena heard herself say. I tried not to. I tried to keep it professional. But I can't help it. When I'm with you I feel like I'm home. Like I found the place I was always meant to be. Dominic's face transformed. Relief, joy, hope, all of it flooding his expression. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. When she didn't, he cupped her face in his hands. Are you sure? He asked. Because once we do this, once we cross this line, there's no going back. And I don't want you to feel pressured or obligated because of the situation. I'm sure, Elena said. I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed her then, soft and gentle and full of promise. Elena's eyes closed and she let herself fall into the moment. Into the feeling of being wanted, being loved, being seen. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. We'll take this slow, Dominic said. No rushing. We'll figure it out together, okay? What works for us, for Isabel, for everyone. Okay. They sat there in the garden for hours, talking and kissing and making plans. They agreed to keep the relationship quiet for now, just between them, until they were sure it was going to work. They agreed that Isabel was the priority always. They agreed to communicate honestly even when it was hard. As Elena finally went to bed that night, her lips still tingling from Dominic's kisses, she felt like she was floating. For the first time in her life, everything was falling into place. She had a job she loved, a child she adored, a family that was finally secure. And now she had love. Real, true, deep love with a man who saw her for exactly who she was and loved her because of it, not in spite of it. Over the next few weeks, their relationship grew. They stole moments together when Isabel was napping or after she went to bed. They held hands under the dinner table. They kissed in the hallway when no one was looking. They talked until late at night about everything and nothing. Dominic was different in a relationship than Elena had expected. He was attentive and thoughtful. He remembered small details she mentioned in passing. He brought her favorite tea without her asking. He left little notes for her to find, saying things like, "Thank you for being you," and "Isabel laughed 4 times today because of you." Elena fell deeper in love with him every day. She loved how patient he was with Isabel, reading the same story 5 times without complaint. She loved how he listened when she talked, really listened, asking questions and remembering details. She loved how he made her feel safe and valued and cherished. One evening, as they sat together in the living room with Isabel playing on the floor between them, Dominic's mother called. Elena had never met her, but she knew Dominic had a complicated relationship with his family. He tensed when he saw the caller ID. "I should take this," he said, standing up. "I'll be right back." He left the room and Elena could hear his voice in the hallway, though not the words. When he came back 20 minutes later, he looked stressed. "Everything okay?" Elena asked. "My mother wants to visit. Next week. She wants to meet Isabel." He ran a hand through his hair. "She hasn't been interested in seeing her before now. I think she heard about Rachel's arrest and wants to make sure everything is okay. That's good, right? That she wants to visit? Maybe. Or maybe she just wants to judge my parenting and tell me everything I'm doing wrong." He sat down heavily on the sofa. "My family is difficult. They care more about appearances than people. I'm worried about how they'll treat you." "Me?" "They'll see you as the help. They won't understand that you're more than that. That you're—" He trailed off. "It's okay," Elena said gently. "I am the help. That's my job. You're so much more than that. You know that, right?" Elena leaned over and kissed him softly. "I know. But we agreed to keep this private for now. So when your mother visits, I'll be Isabel's caretaker. That's all she needs to know." Dominic pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. "I don't deserve you. You do. You absolutely do." The next week, Dominic's mother arrived. Catherine Corsetti was exactly what Elena had imagined. Tall, elegant, dressed in expensive clothes, her silver hair styled perfectly. She swept into the mansion like she owned it, barely glancing at Elena as she was introduced. "So you're the new nanny," Catherine said, her tone making it clear exactly what she thought of nannies. Where is my granddaughter? Elena bit back her first response and simply said, she's in the nursery. I'll take you to her. Isabel was sitting in her playpen, stacking colorful blocks. When she saw Dominic, she reached up immediately, calling, Dada. Dominic scooped her up, kissing her forehead. Mother, meet Isabel, he said, his voice carefully neutral. Catherine stepped forward and examined her granddaughter like she was inspecting a piece of art. She's small for her age. She's healthy. That's what matters. And you're raising her with just a nanny? No proper governess or… Elena is more than enough, Dominic said firmly. She's wonderful with Isabel. Catherine glanced at Elena, her eyes cold. I'm sure. Well, I'll be staying for a few days. We have much to discuss about your business and this unfortunate incident with the previous nanny. The next 3 days were tense. Catherine criticized everything, from the way Dominic ran his business to the way Elena dressed Isabel to the food served at dinner. Elena bit her tongue and stayed professional, but it was hard. Especially when Catherine made comments about the help getting too comfortable or knowing their place. Dominic defended Elena every time, which only made Catherine more suspicious. On the third night, Elena overheard a conversation she wasn't meant to hear. She was walking past the study when she heard Catherine's sharp voice. You're too attached to that girl, Dominic. It's inappropriate. Elena saved Isabel's life. I'm grateful to her. Grateful is one thing. But the way you look at her, people will talk. Let them talk. She's a maid, Dominic. You can't seriously be thinking. Enough. Dominic's voice was hard as steel. Elena is a kind, intelligent, wonderful woman who has done more for this family than anyone, including you. And how I feel about her is none of your business. There was a long silence. Then Catherine's voice, colder than ever. I see. Well, I suppose there's nothing more to say. I'll leave in the morning. Elena hurried away before she could be caught eavesdropping. Her heart was pounding. He had defended her. He had told his mother how he felt. That meant something. The next morning, Catherine left without saying goodbye to Elena. After her car pulled away, Dominic found Elena in the nursery. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I'm sorry she was rude to you. I should have warned you better about what she's like. It's okay. I've dealt with worse. It's not okay. You deserve respect. He moved closer, taking her hands in his. Elena, I meant what I said to her. About how I feel about you. And I'm tired of hiding it. I know we agreed to keep things private, but I don't want to anymore. I want people to know that you're important to me. That we're together. Elena's eyes widened. Are you sure? That will change everything. I'm sure. I love you, Elena. I want the world to know it. Tears filled Elena's eyes, happy tears this time. I love you too. They kissed there in the nursery, with Isabel babbling happily in her crib, and Elena felt like her heart might burst from joy. This was real. This was happening. And she was ready for whatever came next. After Dominic decided to stop hiding their relationship, things moved quickly. He sat down with the senior staff and explained that he and Elena were together. Mrs. Chen smiled knowingly, like she had suspected all along. The other staff members were surprised but supportive. Everyone had seen how happy Elena and Dominic made each other. The real test came when Dominic decided to tell his business partners and close friends. He hosted a small dinner party at the mansion, inviting 6 people he trusted most in his professional life. Elena was nervous, but Dominic held her hand under the table and whispered, "They'll love you." How could they not? During dessert, Dominic stood up and clinked his glass. Everyone went quiet. Thank you all for coming tonight. I wanted to gather you here because you're the people I trust most in the world. And I have something important to share. He looked at Elena, his eyes warm. Many of you know that several months ago my daughter Isabel was in danger. Elena saved her life. What you don't know is that in the process of caring for Isabel, Elena also saved mine. She brought light and love into our home. She taught me how to be present, how to be a father, how to be a better man. And somewhere along the way, I fell in love with her. Elena felt her cheeks heat as everyone looked at her. But Dominic wasn't done. Elena is brilliant, kind, strong, and the best thing that has ever happened to me and Isabel. I'm telling you this because I want you to know how important she is to me. She's not just Isabel's caretaker. She's the woman I love. And I hope you'll all welcome her into our lives with the respect and kindness she deserves. There was a moment of silence. Then Maria Rodriguez, one of Dominic's oldest friends and a board member of his company, stood up. She was a warm, energetic woman in her 50s with graying dark hair and a bright blue dress. Dominic, I've known you for 15 years and I've never seen you this happy. Elena, whatever you've done to crack open this man's heart, thank you. She raised her glass. To Elena and Dominic. Everyone else raised their glasses too, smiling. The tension Elena had been holding released all at once. They were accepting her. Truly accepting her. After dinner, Maria pulled Elena aside while the others chatted in the living room. Can I give you some advice? Maria asked kindly. Of course. People are going to judge you. They'll say you're a gold digger, that you manipulated Dominic, that you don't belong in his world. Don't let it get to you. You saved his daughter. You made him remember how to live. That's more than most people ever do for another person. Elena nodded, touched by the older woman's honesty. Thank you. I know it won't be easy, but I love him. And I love Isabel. That's what matters. Exactly. Maria smiled. Now, let's go save Dominic from Thomas's boring golf stories. Over the next few weeks, word spread through Dominic's social circles. The reactions were mixed. Some people were genuinely happy for him. Others were skeptical or judgmental. Elena tried not to let it bother her, but some comments stung. She overheard one woman at a charity event whisper, I heard she was a maid. Can you imagine? How desperate must he be? But Dominic never wavered. He introduced Elena proudly at every event. He held her hand in public. He made sure everyone knew she was his partner, not his employee. Elena's family was thrilled. Her mother cried when Elena video called to tell her about the relationship. Mija, this is a blessing. He's a good man. I can tell by how he looks at you. Her father was more protective. Make sure he treats you right. You deserve the best. He does, Papa. I promise. Her younger brother, Carlos, who was now thriving in college thanks to Dominic's financial help, was excited. Does this mean we get to meet him? I want to thank him for everything. Soon, Elena promised. Very soon. One Saturday in late summer, Dominic arranged for Elena's family to visit the mansion. Elena was nervous. What if they didn't get along? What if her parents felt uncomfortable in such a wealthy environment? But her worries were unfounded. Dominic greeted her parents warmly at the door, speaking to them in basic Spanish he had been learning. Her mother, Rosa, immediately started crying and hugging him. Her father, Miguel, shook his hand firmly, sizing him up with the careful eye of a protective father. Thank you for helping us, Miguel said. For paying off our house. For Carlos's school. We can never repay you. You don't need to repay me, Dominic said sincerely. Elena has given me and Isabel more than I could ever give back. Helping your family is the least I can do. They spent the day together, Isabel charming everyone with her babbling and her attempts to walk. Rosa helped Elena make traditional Mexican food for lunch, teaching Dominic how to make tortillas from scratch. Miguel and Carlos talked with Dominic about business and sports, finding common ground despite their different backgrounds. As the day ended and her family prepared to leave, Rosa pulled Elena aside in the kitchen. He loves you, she said simply. Really loves you. I can see it in every look, every gesture. Don't doubt that, Mija. I don't, Mama. I love him too. Good. Then be happy. Stop worrying about what others think. You deserve this joy. After her family left, Elena found Dominic in Isabel's room, rocking her to sleep. She sat down in the other chair and watched them, her heart full. Your family is wonderful, Dominic said quietly. I see where you get your strength and kindness. They loved you. My dad doesn't trust easily, but he trusts you. I'm glad. Because I plan to be around for a very long time. He looked at her over Isabel's sleeping head. Elena, I know we haven't been together very long. But I know what I want. I want to wake up every day and see you. I want to raise Isabel together. I want to build a life with you, a real life, not just this arrangement we fell into. Elena's heart started racing. What are you saying? I'm saying that when the time is right, when we're both ready, I want to marry you. I want you to be my wife. I want to make our family official in every way possible. Tears filled Elena's eyes. I want that too. Not yet, Dominic said quickly. I'm not proposing right now. I want to do this right. I want to court you properly, date you, give you the romance and attention you deserve. But I wanted you to know where my heart is. Where it's always going to be. Elena stood up and kissed him, careful not to wake Isabel. I already know where your heart is. I've known for a while now. They put Isabel in her crib together, then went to sit in the garden under the stars. Dominic pulled Elena close and she rested her head on his shoulder. Are you happy? He asked. More than I ever thought possible. Me too. Because of you. They sat there in comfortable silence, two people who had found each other in the most unexpected way. Two people who had built something real and true out of tragedy and pain. Two people who were ready to face the future together, whatever it brought. And as the stars shone above them and the warm summer breeze rustled the trees, Elena knew that this was just the beginning of their story. The best parts were still to come. Fall arrived, painting the grounds in shades of gold and red. Isabel turned 1 year old, and they threw a small party in the garden with Elena's family, Maria, and a few other close friends. Isabel wore a bright yellow dress and smeared cake all over her face, delighting everyone with her messy joy. Elena and Dominic had been officially together for 4 months now, and their relationship had only grown stronger. They had fallen into an easy partnership, splitting parenting duties, supporting each other's goals, communicating openly about everything. Elena had started taking online college classes, something Dominic encouraged and supported fully. Dominic had cut back on work travel, choosing to prioritize time with his family over business deals. One October evening, after putting Isabel to bed, Dominic asked Elena to meet him in the garden. It was their special place where they had first confessed their feelings. When Elena arrived, she found the space transformed. Hundreds of small white lights were strung through the trees. Candles flickered on the stone benches. Soft music played from hidden speakers. "What's all this?" Elena asked, her breath catching. Dominic stood in the center of the garden, wearing a dark green shirt that brought out his eyes. He looked nervous, which was unusual for him. He was usually so confident and collected. "Come here," he said softly. Elena walked to him, her heart pounding. She had a feeling she knew what was coming, but she didn't want to assume. Dominic took both her hands in his. "Elena Vasquez, do you remember the first time I saw you?" "Of course." "I was covered in mud and trash trying to explain what happened. I remember thinking you looked terrified. But also determined. Like you would fight the whole world to protect Isabel. And then later, after I realized the truth, I couldn't stop thinking about your courage. About how you didn't hesitate to save my daughter even though you didn't know her. You just did what was right because that's who you are." Elena's eyes were already filling with tears. "Dominic. Over these past months you've taught me so much. You've taught me how to be present, how to love without fear, how to build a family based on trust and kindness. You've made me a better father. Better man. You've made our house a home. And I don't want to spend another day without making this official." He let go of her hands and reached into his pocket. When he pulled out a small velvet box and dropped to one knee, Elena gasped. "Elena, you are the love of my life. You are Isabel's mother in every way that matters. You are my partner, my best friend, my everything. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making you as happy as you've made me?" He opened the box. Inside was a beautiful ring, a simple band of white gold with a single diamond. It wasn't flashy or huge, but it was perfect. Elegant and understated, just like Elena. "Yes," Elena said, her voice breaking. "Yes, of course, yes." Dominic stood up and slipped the ring onto her finger. Then he kissed her, and Elena felt like she was floating. This was real. This was happening. She was going to marry Dominic Corsetti. She was going to be Isabel's mother. She was going to have the family she had always dreamed of. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were crying and laughing at the same time. "I love you," Dominic said, cupping her face in his hands. "So much. I will spend every day of our marriage making sure you know that. I love you too. I can't believe this is my life now. Believe it? You deserve every bit of happiness, Elena. Never doubt that." They spent hours in the garden talking about the future. They decided on a small wedding, just family and close friends. Elena wanted her parents to walk her down the aisle together. Dominic wanted Isabel to be part of the ceremony, maybe as their flower girl even though she was still wobbly on her feet. "We should get married soon," Elena said. "I don't want to wait." "Neither do I. How about December? We could have a winter wedding. Something warm and intimate." "That sounds perfect." They told Isabel the next morning, even though she was too young to understand. "Lena is going to be your mama officially," Dominic said, holding his daughter in his lap. "How do you feel about that?" Isabel reached for Elena, calling Mama. "Mama." It was the first time she had said the word. Elena burst into tears and scooped her up, holding her close. "That's right, sweet girl. I'm your mama. Forever and always." They told Elena's family next, video calling them together. Rosa screamed with joy. Miguel smiled wider than Elena had ever seen. Carlos cheered and said, "I'm getting a billionaire brother-in-law? This is amazing." Maria was thrilled when they told her at lunch a few days later. "I knew it," she said smugly. I knew from that first dinner party that you two were endgame. When's the wedding? I need time to find the perfect dress. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of planning. Elena wanted to keep things simple, but even a simple billionaire wedding required a lot of coordination. They hired a wedding planner who respected Elena's wishes for something small and meaningful rather than flashy and expensive. Elena found a dress she loved, a simple white gown with a blue sash at the waist and a flowing skirt that made her feel like herself. Dominic got a custom navy suit. They chose a small chapel on the mansion grounds for the ceremony and planned a reception in the garden with heaters and blankets to keep everyone warm. Everything was falling into place perfectly. Too perfectly. 2 weeks before the wedding, Dominic got a call that changed everything. His company was being sued by a former business partner for breach of contract. The amount being claimed was enormous, enough to potentially bankrupt the company if they lost. Worse, the partner was claiming Dominic had engaged in fraud and manipulation. Dominic spent the next few days with lawyers, barely sleeping, barely eating. Elena watched him spiral into stress and fear, and her heart ached. She tried to help however she could, bringing him food, rubbing his shoulders, reminding him to rest. "I can't lose everything," Dominic said one night, his head in his hands. "I can't. This company is all I have. It's Isabel's future. It's our future." "You have more than the company," Elena said gently. "You have me. You have Isabel. You have love. That's what matters. But what if I can't provide for you? What if I lose everything and we have nothing?" Elena took his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. "Listen to me. I didn't fall in love with your money. I fell in love with you. The man who reads bedtime stories with silly voices. The man who learned to make tortillas to impress my mother. The man who kisses Isabel's forehead every morning. That's who you are. Not your bank account. You say that now, but... No. Don't do that. Don't doubt us." Elena's voice was firm. "We will face this together. Whatever happens, we face it as a team. Understand?" Dominic pulled her close, holding her tight. "What did I do to deserve you? You were yourself. That was enough." The next week was brutal. The lawsuit dominated the news. Business partners started pulling back. Stock prices dropped. Dominic's reputation was being attacked from all sides. But through it all, Elena stood by him. She fielded phone calls. She helped organize documents. She reminded him to eat and sleep. And most importantly, she reminded him that he wasn't alone. 3 days before the wedding, the truth came out. An investigative journalist had been digging into the lawsuit and discovered that the former business partner had fabricated evidence. He had been embezzling money from the company and was trying to blame Dominic to cover his tracks. The evidence was overwhelming. The lawsuit was dropped immediately, and criminal charges were filed against the partner instead. Dominic was cleared of all wrongdoing. His reputation was restored. The company's stock bounced back. He had won, but the victory felt hollow after weeks of stress and fear. "I almost lost everything," he told Elena that night. They were sitting in their garden, bundled in blankets against the December cold. "Not the money. That I could handle. But you. I was terrified you would realize what a mess I am and walk away." "Never," Elena said firmly. "I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together, remember? For better or worse. And we haven't even said our vows yet." Dominic laughed, the sound weak but genuine. "I can't wait to marry you. 3 more days. 3 more days until I get to call you my wife. 3 more days until we become a family officially." They sat there together, watching the stars, ready for whatever came next. Because they had each other. And that was all they needed. The wedding day arrived, cold and clear. Snow had fallen the night before, covering the grounds in a pristine white blanket. The chapel glowed with warm light, decorated simply with pine garlands and white candles. 50 people filled the small space, all the people who mattered most to Elena and Dominic. Elena stood in a side room, looking at herself in the mirror. Her dress was perfect. Her dark hair was styled in loose curls with small white flowers woven through. She looked happy. She looked loved. Her mother came up behind her, adjusting Elena's veil. "You look beautiful, Mija. Like an angel." "I'm so nervous, Mama." "That's normal. But you love him and he loves you. That's all that matters." Elena's father appeared in the doorway, wearing his best suit, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "It's time." They walked together, Rosa on one side, Miguel on the other, down the short aisle of the chapel. Elena saw familiar faces smiling at her. Mrs. Chin dabbing her eyes. Maria beaming. Carlos giving her a thumbs up. And at the end of the aisle, Dominic. He looked impossibly handsome in his navy suit, his eyes locked on her with an expression of such love it took her breath away. Next to him stood Maria's daughter, holding Isabel, who was wearing a tiny white dress with a green bow. When Elena reached the altar, her parents kissed her cheeks and placed her hand in Dominic's. His hand was warm and steady, grounding her. The ceremony was simple and beautiful. They had written their own vows. Dominic went first, his voice strong and clear. "Elena, you came into my life when I needed you most. You saved my daughter, but you also saved me. You taught me that love isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. You showed me that family isn't just blood, it's choice. Every day with you is a gift. I promise to honor you, to cherish you, to be your partner in all things. I promise to make you laugh, to support your dreams, to be the man you deserve. I love you today and always." Elena's voice shook as she said her vows, but she pushed through. "Dominic, when I found Isabel that night, I never imagined it would lead me here. To you. To love. To a family. You've given me more than I ever thought possible. You've shown me that I'm worth loving, that I belong. I promise to stand by you through every challenge. I promise to be Isabel's mother and your wife with all my heart. I promise to choose you every single day for the rest of my life. I love you with everything I am." They exchanged rings, simple bands that matched the engagement ring Dominic had given her. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Dominic pulled Elena close and kissed her softly, sweetly, sealing their promise. The reception in the garden was warm despite the cold, with heaters blazing and blankets on every chair. They ate good food, danced to soft music, and celebrated with the people they loved most. Isabel toddled around, being passed from person to person, bringing joy to everyone she touched. During their first dance, Dominic held Elena close and whispered, "This is the happiest day of my life." "Mine too." "Ready for forever? With you?" "Absolutely." They spent their wedding night at the mansion, not wanting to leave Isabel for a honeymoon just yet. They would travel later as a family. For now, they just wanted to be together in their home. The next few months were blissful. Elena finished her first semester of college with excellent grades. Dominic's business continued to thrive. Isabel grew into a bright, happy toddler who loved books and music and helping Elena bake cookies. They were a family in every sense of the word. In March, Dominic surprised Elena with a trip to Mexico to visit her extended family. They spent a week in the small town where her parents had grown up, meeting aunts and uncles and cousins. Isabel charmed everyone with her attempts at Spanish and her fearless running around. Dominic was embraced by the community, invited to dinners and celebrations, treated not as a rich outsider but as family. "This is where I come from," Elena told him one evening as they sat on her grandmother's porch watching the sunset. "These people, this place, it shaped who I am." "I love it here," Dominic said honestly. "I love seeing where you came from. Understanding your roots. Our roots now. You're part of this family too." When they returned to Chicago, Elena had news. She was pregnant. 3 months along, which explained the exhaustion and nausea she had been experiencing. Dominic was overjoyed, immediately going into protective mode, insisting she rest more and let him take over more of the household duties. "You're already doing so much," Elena protested. "I can handle this." "I know you can. But you don't have to do it alone. That's what partners are for." The pregnancy was smooth. Elena continued her classes online, slowing down a bit but not stopping. She wanted to finish her degree before the baby came. Dominic supported this completely, often studying with her late at night, the two of them at the dining table with books and laptops, helping each other stay awake. Isabel was excited about becoming a big sister, though at 18 months old, she didn't fully understand. Elena would let her feel the baby kick, and Isabel would giggle and kiss Elena's belly saying, "Baby, baby." In August, Elena graduated with her associate's degree in early childhood education. Dominic, Isabel, and both their families attended the ceremony. Elena walked across the stage 8 months pregnant, to receive her diploma, and the whole crowd cheered. She had done it. She had finished school despite everything, proving to herself that she was capable of anything she set her mind to. 2 weeks later, their son was born. They named him Gabriel Miguel Corsetti, after the archangel and Elena's father. He was perfect, with Dominic's dark hair and Elena's warm brown eyes. Isabel was fascinated by her baby brother, wanting to hold him constantly and sing to him. Their family was complete. Everything Elena had ever wanted, ever dreamed of, was right here in this home with these people. One evening when Gabriel was 3 months old, Elena found Dominic in the nursery, rocking their son while Isabel slept in her room across the hall. He looked up when she entered, his face soft with contentment. "Hey," he said quietly. Couldn't sleep? I'm too happy to sleep, Elena admitted, sitting down next to them. I keep thinking about how different my life is now compared to a year and a half ago. How much has changed? Do you miss the simplicity? Before all this? Elena thought about that. No. I miss nothing about my old life except my family, and now they're part of this life too. Everything I have now is because I chose to do the right thing that night. Because I chose to save Isabel. And that choice led me to you. To this family. To this love. I wouldn't change any of it. Neither would I. Best decision I ever made was hiring you. Well, second best. First best was marrying you. They sat there together in the quiet nursery, their children sleeping nearby, and Elena felt a peace so deep it brought tears to her eyes. This was what happiness looked like. Not perfection but love. Not wealth but family. Not ease but partnership through all of life's challenges. She was exactly where she was meant to be. 2 years had passed since the wedding. Gabriel was now a rambunctious 2-year-old who followed his big sister everywhere. Isabel, at 3.5, was smart and curious and full of energy. She attended a small preschool 3 days a week and was thriving. The nightmares of her first months of life were behind her, replaced with security and joy. Elena had continued her education, now working toward her bachelor's degree while also helping Dominic with some of his charitable foundation work. They had started a program to help immigrant families access education and job training, something deeply personal to Elena. Seeing families lifted out of poverty, seeing children get opportunities their parents never had, filled her with purpose. Dominic had stepped back from day-to-day business operations, hiring a COO to handle much of the work so he could focus on his family. He was a hands-on father, coaching Isabel's tiny soccer team and reading bedtime stories every single night. He had become the father he never had, breaking the cycle of absence and neglect. Their life wasn't perfect. They had disagreements about parenting style sometimes. Money caused occasional tension when Elena worried about spending too much or Dominic wanted to give too much. The blending of their different worlds was sometimes awkward, with Dominic's wealthy friends not always understanding Elena's background and Elena's family sometimes feeling uncomfortable in the mansion's grandeur. But they worked through everything together, communicating openly, compromising when needed, always putting each other and their children first. One September morning, Elena woke up to find Dominic already gone from bed. She could hear voices downstairs, which was unusual this early. She checked on the kids, finding them still asleep, then went to investigate. In the kitchen, she found Dominic pacing, his phone pressed to his ear, his face tense. Her stomach dropped. Something was wrong. When he saw her, he ended the call quickly. Elena. Good, you're up. We need to talk. Her heart started racing. What's wrong? Is someone hurt? Is it your mother? No, nothing like that. Sit down. Elena sat at the kitchen table, her hands gripping the edge. Dominic sat across from her, running his hands through his hair in the gesture she recognized as stress. My board of directors called an emergency meeting last night. Someone leaked information about a project we've been working on in secret. A major tech development that was supposed to launch next year. Now our competitors know about it, and they're rushing to beat us to market. Elena's shoulders relaxed slightly. That's bad but not terrible, right? You can still develop it. It's worse than that. If we don't launch first, we lose everything. The company's future depends on this project. We've invested hundreds of millions. If it fails, we could face bankruptcy. Real bankruptcy this time, not just a lawsuit. The word hung in the air. Bankruptcy. Losing everything. How long do we have? Elena asked, her mind already shifting into problem-solving mode. 6 months. Maybe 8 if we're lucky. We need to accelerate development, which means I'll have to be at the office constantly. Traveling to our tech centers. Working around the clock. He looked at her with exhausted, guilty eyes. I know I promised to be here. To prioritize family. But if I don't fix this, we might lose the house, the business, everything. Elena stood up and walked around the table to him. She took his face in her hands, making him look at her. Then you do what you need to do. You fix this. I'll handle things here. Elena. I mean it. You've spent 2 years being present, being an amazing father and husband. You've earned the right to focus on work when it's critical. The kids and I will be fine. We'll adjust. Family isn't about physical presence every second. It's about love and trust. And I trust you. Dominic pulled her onto his lap, holding her tight. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. Now go shower and get to work. Start fixing this. I've got everything here. The next 6 months were the hardest they had faced since getting married. Dominic was gone for days at a time, sometimes a full week. When he was home he was exhausted and distracted. The stress aged him, adding lines around his eyes and gray to his hair. Elena held everything together. She managed the kids' schedules, keeping their routines stable despite their father's absence. She helped with the homework Isabel brought home. She soothed Gabriel when he cried for daddy. She stayed up late video chatting with Dominic, listening to his fears and frustrations, offering encouragement and love. She also stepped up in ways she never expected. When Dominic's marketing team needed insight into how to reach everyday consumers, Elena joined their meetings, offering her perspective. When he needed someone to attend a crucial investor dinner in his place, Elena went, wearing a green dress and her confidence like armor, charming wealthy businesspeople with her authenticity and intelligence. Maria became a lifeline during this time, helping with the kids when Elena needed a break, offering wisdom and support. "This is marriage," Maria told her during one particularly hard week. "Not just the beautiful wedding and happy moments. This, right here, supporting each other through crisis, that's the real stuff. And you're doing it perfectly." In March, 3 months before the deadline, Elena discovered she was pregnant again. She debated telling Dominic right away, knowing he was under so much pressure, but decided he deserved to know. When she called him in his hotel room in San Francisco, his reaction was immediate joy. "Really? Another baby? Elena, that's amazing. That's the best news I've had in months. Are you sure? I know the timing is terrible with everything going on. The timing is perfect. It's a reminder of what I'm fighting for. Our family. Our future. Thank you for telling me." In April, the breakthrough came. Dominic's team had been working on a solution to a technical problem that had been holding them back. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. They fast-tracked the remaining development, and in May they were ready to launch. The product was revolutionary, exactly as they had hoped. A new type of AI software that would change how businesses operated. The launch was a massive success, dominating headlines, exceeding sales projections, securing the company's future for decades to come. Dominic came home the day after the launch, carrying flowers and exhausted relief. Elena met him at the door and he dropped everything to hug her. "We did it," he whispered. "It's over. We won. I never doubted you. I couldn't have done this without you. Without knowing you were here, holding everything together, believing in me." He pulled back to look at her, his hands on her shoulders. "I'm sorry I was gone so much. I'm sorry I missed Gabriel's second birthday party and Isabel's preschool performance. You did what you had to do. And you're here now. That's what matters." That weekend, they gathered everyone they loved for a celebration. Not of the business success but of their family. Of making it through the hardest season and coming out stronger. In the garden where Dominic had proposed, where they had weathered so many meaningful moments, he stood up and clinked his glass. "I want to say something," he began, looking around at the familiar faces. "The last 6 months were brutal. I won't lie about that. But we made it through because of love. Elena's love for me and our children. Her strength and grace and unwavering support. I'm the luckiest man alive." He turned to Elena, who was sitting with Gabriel on her lap and Isabel beside her. "Elena, I want to ask you something. Something I should have asked a long time ago." Elena's brow furrowed in confusion. "What?" Dominic knelt down next to Isabel and whispered something to her. She giggled and nodded. Then they both turned to Elena. "Elena," Dominic said, "I know we've already talked about this, but I want to make it official. I want to legally adopt you as my wife in every record, and I want you to legally adopt Isabel as your daughter. No more stepmom or caretaker. Just mom. Just family. Will you do that? Will you let me make this permanent in every way possible?" Tears streamed down Elena's face. "Yes. Of course yes." Isabel threw her arms around Elena's neck. "You're my real mama. You've always been my real mama. And you're my real daughter. Forever and always." The adoption paperwork was filed the next week. Within 2 months it was finalized. Elena Vasquez Corsetti was officially Isabel's mother. The family was complete in every legal and emotional way. In December their daughter Sophia was born, completing their family at 5. 2 biological children, 1 adopted child, and a love that transcended all of it. They were bound not by blood alone but by choice. By commitment. By showing up for each other every single day. On Christmas Eve, with all 3 children finally asleep, Elena and Dominic sat in their garden despite the cold, bundled in blankets, watching snow fall gently around them. "Do you remember that night?" Elena asked softly. "When I found Isabel in the dumpster?" "Every detail. It's burned into my memory. If someone had told me that night that this is where I'd be 2.5 years later, I never would have believed it. Married to you. Mother to 3 children. Living in this beautiful place. It seems impossible. But it happened. Because you were brave. Because you cared. Because you chose love at every turn. Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. We both chose love. That's why it worked. And we'll keep choosing it. Every day. Through every challenge. For the rest of our lives. Forever, Elena agreed. They sat there in the snow, 2 people who had found each other in the darkest moment and built something bright and lasting. Their story had started with a child in danger, with false accusations and fear. But it had become something beautiful. A love story. A family story. A story of kindness and hope and second chances. And as the snow fell around them and the lights of their home glowed warm in the darkness, Elena Corsetti knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Home. With the man she loved. With the children who needed her. With a future stretched out before them, full of possibilities and promise. Forever had only just begun.